I could look away. I could close my eyes and move on. But what if one day, I'm the one sitting in that chair? What if one day, a gun is pointed at me? Officer Daniel Carter was 28 years old. As a child, he had believed that justice was equal for everyone. But now, in the middle of a dark patrol shift, sitting beside a smirking senior officer, he watched that belief shatter into pieces. A muffled radio transmission crackled through the squad car's speaker. Suspicious activity detected. Requesting patrol response. Daniel's partner, veteran Officer Bradley, slammed his fist against the steering wheel. We'll handle this. When they arrived, a young black man stood cornered, kneeling on the sidewalk, hands raised in surrender. His wide, fearful eyes reflected the glare of the patrol car's headlights. Please, I was just going home. Bradley smirked, slowly reaching for his gun. The young man's breath hitched. Daniel felt sick. He had seen scenes like this before, but this time, something was different. The young man wasn't looking at Bradley. He was looking directly at him, pleading for help. He didn't do anything wrong, Daniel thought. But Bradley grabbed the young man by the arms and shoved him against the car. Lying to an officer comes with consequences. Instinctively, Daniel's fingers twitched toward his radio. He could report this. He could stop it. But he didn't. If he spoke up now, Bradley and the entire department would turn against him. If he stayed silent, he would be complicit. He had to make a choice, and he made it. As Bradley filled out a false report, Daniel quietly slid his phone from his pocket. With a steady breath, he pressed record and clutched the device to his chest. Tonight, that recording would change everything. By morning, Daniel's phone was still playing the recording. The footage was clear, but so was something else. This recording could cost him his life. Walking into the precinct, everything seemed normal. Officers sipped their coffee. Files were being passed around. Conversations hummed in the background. But then, Bradley's eyes found him. Sleep well, partner. Daniel felt his stomach tighten. Everything looked the same, but it wasn't. Because Bradley's stare told him everything. We know. By the afternoon, his commanding officer summoned him. The moment Daniel stepped into the office, he felt his back dampen with sweat. The man sitting across from him had an expression as hard as stone. Carter, you're stirring up trouble in this department. Daniel held his ground, his voice steady. I witnessed a crime. I want to report it. His superior's face remained unreadable. But then, at the corner of his lips, a small, chilling smirk appeared. Forget it, Carter, or they'll forget you. A cold shiver ran down Daniel's spine. For a split second, he considered his options. Should I turn over the footage? Should I go to a lawyer? But before he could act, he discovered the truth waiting for him in his garage that evening. His brake lines were cut. Someone wanted him silenced. The moment Daniel saw the severed brake lines, one thought echoed in his mind. They're going to silence me. He quickly scanned his surroundings. The parking garage was empty. A cold sweat trickled down his back. This wasn't just a warning. This was a declaration of war. Should he leak the footage to the press, or take it to a prosecutor? But there was one problem. He didn't know who to trust. Everyone at the department was either corrupt or too afraid to speak up. Except for one person, Detective Olivia Reyes. Reyes had been in the force for years. She was one of the few officers known for her integrity. But even she was aware of the deep-rooted corruption within the department. The difference? She had never been able to prove it. Daniel met Reyes in an empty parking lot, his hands gripping a USB drive that trembled between his fingers. You need to see this. Reyes narrowed her eyes, scanning his face for hesitation. Then, she inserted the USB into her laptop. As the files loaded, her expression darkened. Bodycam footage, falsified reports, internal emails detailing how officers covered for each other by destroying evidence. She let out a slow breath. We have to take this to court. But Daniel shook his head. They won't stop. They're already trying to frame me. Reyes hesitated. If they pursued this case, they wouldn't just be exposing a few dirty cops, they'd be dismantling an entire system. Then, Daniel's phone rang. An unknown number. He hesitated before answering. The voice on the other end was sharp, urgent. You don't know me, but I'm like you. I was on the inside, and I know how this ends. Daniel's grip tightened. Who are you? The voice hesitated. I was once one of them, but they buried me. And now, I'm ready to talk. The day of reckoning had arrived. The courtroom was packed. Journalists, activists, and high-ranking police officials filled the seats, their eyes fixed on the front. Daniel, Reyes, and their team were here to present evidence that would shake the entire system. The judge's commanding voice echoed through the courtroom. Prosecution, you may call your first witness. Daniel stepped forward, his heart pounding. He took a deep breath and recounted everything he had witnessed. The brutality, the false reports, the cover-ups. A murmur spread through the crowd. Then, the defense attorney smirked. "Officer Carter, do you have a personal grudge against the department, or is this just revenge for not getting promoted?" Daniel clenched his jaw. This was a trap. But before he could respond, Reyes stood up, her expression unreadable. She turned toward the court's main screen. "Let's allow the evidence to speak for itself." A cold silence fell over the courtroom. Bodycam footage played. False police reports were exposed. Internal emails detailing cover-ups were displayed. The entire corrupt system was being laid bare for the world to see. But the biggest shock was yet to come. "Your Honor, we have one more witness." The courtroom doors swung open, and an audible gasp rippled through the crowd as Mark Hastings, a former police officer, walked in. "They tried to silence me," Mark declared, his voice firm. "But today, I'm speaking out." Then, in stunning detail, he laid out the department's illegal operations, the fabricated arrests, the brutal beatings, the systemic corruption that had thrived for years. But the real bombshell came when the judge reviewed the case files and saw one name that no one had dared to touch: Police Chief Donald Whitmore. A heavy silence fell over the courtroom. The judge turned to the prosecution, his expression grim. "This investigation does not end here. A full-scale inquiry into the Metropolitan Police Department must begin immediately." A wave of shock and panic spread among the officers in the courtroom. This was no longer just a trial. This was the beginning of a system's collapse. The courtroom was silent, every breath held in anticipation. A long-standing injustice was about to be etched into history with a landmark ruling. The judge took a deep breath and raised his gavel. "This court finds that the testimonies provided by the accused officers are false. Furthermore, it is determined that a system of systemic racism and corruption exists within the Metropolitan Police Department." A moment of silence. Then, murmurs rippled through the courtroom. Journalists scribbled furiously in their notepads, cameras flashed, and whispers of disbelief spread across the room. Daniel exhaled deeply. They had done it, but this wasn't over. The judge leaned forward, his voice firm. "However, this corruption is a deep-rooted issue that extends far beyond this trial. Therefore, this court orders the immediate establishment of an independent oversight board to initiate a full-scale reform of the police department." This was a turning point. It wasn't just two officers on trial anymore. It was an entire system. 7 senior officers were fired and charged with misconduct. An independent federal observer was assigned to oversee the department. Mark Hastings was placed into witness protection. A criminal investigation into Police Chief Donald Whitmore was officially opened. As Daniel and Reyes stepped out of the courthouse, the media swarmed them. Bright lights, flashing cameras, shouting reporters. A journalist called out, "Daniel Carter, what's next for you?" Daniel paused for a moment, taking in the scene. Then, he stepped forward, his voice unwavering. "This isn't just a victory. This is the beginning of a war, and I will never stop fighting for justice." Daniel and Reyes sit at a quiet cafe, the chaos of the trial behind them. A sealed folder rests between them. Reyes smirks, sliding it toward Daniel. "Are you ready for another fight?" Daniel opens the folder. Inside, a new assignment awaits him. Independent Police Oversight Division, Internal Affairs Investigation Unit. As the camera slowly pulls away, Daniel closes his eyes and takes a deep breath. He is no longer just an officer. He is a warrior sworn to take down a corrupt system. This is just the beginning.